Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for checking out today's episode of Hardball Sports Talk. My name is Brandon. Joining me, like always, is my good friend Alex. Alex, how are you today?
Hoy Brandon, I'm doing excellent right now.
Well, that is good to hear. Normally, we do not have an episode on Friday night, but we told you guys we would because the NFL on Monday decided to be the craziest week ever, and it just kept on getting crazier. So we're really glad that we're doing this episode, especially after the news that broke today. And Alex, what is the big news that broke today?
The Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle, nose tackle, whatever they call him, has retired from the Los Angeles Rams. There we
I
go.
still do that, so I can't say a whole lot there. But yes, Aaron Donald has retired, which first reaction was, holy crap, he retired. But then I thought
Mhm.
about it for a second, and if I remember right, he contemplated it last year,
Mhm.
if I remember right. And I am one of those people that believes once you think about retiring in sports, you're done.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not totally shocked by this after just thinking about it for a few minutes. It is a huge blow, though, for the Rams and football in general. But
Mhm.
the Rams especially, I mean, he's the defense. Like
Yes.
that defense goes through him. Uh, and that's crazy to think about as a defense tackle, nose tackle, whatever you want to call him. That is crazy to think that that position, you can be that impactful that you impact the entire defense. But he does, because you have to double and triple team him. He's so dominant. So it
Yeah.
frees up your edge rushers. Your corners don't have to cover as long. He's a
Yeah.
run stuffer, so your linebackers have less pressure.
Yeah.
I
When you
mean,
have to game plan around a guy in the middle of a defense, that's saying something.
yeah. So obviously he's going to the Hall of Fame. That's his next stop will be Canton. It's a heck of a career. I'm glad that the Rams won that Super Bowl a couple years ago, for especially in, like, all things considered right now with him retiring. It'd
Mhm.
be a shame if a dominant player like that never got to play the Super Bowl. But thankfully, they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, so that is not going to be part of the conversation with him, which is, by the way, a really stupid conversation, especially in football. But that is totally a different story right there. But anyways, so like I said, there's been a lot of action in football this week, and it's basically gotten to the point where every 10 seconds it feels like my phone buzzes and it's something football related, like so and so got traded or so and so signed with this team. So, with that being said, we just decided, you know what, let's go on CBS.com and they have all the transactions. So, what we're going to do is we're basically just like scroll through the list of transactions and say the big name movement, either player getting cut or signing with somebody, or getting traded. Because today alone, uh, there was just a lot of action today alone.
Yeah.
And so we just figured this would probably be the most efficient way to do this because, well, for example, Squirrels Alex just found out 2 minutes ago that Kenny Pickett got traded. So, and that news broke, I believe, around noon today is when I saw that one.
Yeah.
So, like, this has been absolute crazy. So, without further ado, we are going to get started on this. I'll add that to the screen right there. So the first one that stands out to me here is Michael Gallup and Leighton Van Der Esch from the Cowboys, both getting cut. Gallup, the wide receiver, Van Der Esch, the linebacker. Those are pretty big names there for the Cowboys to release. I think Van Der Esch, though, has dealt with injuries in his career, so it's not like a complete shock there. But, you know, again, linebacker and wide receiver positions of importance. And the Cowboys right now have a different mess going on with accusations against Dak Prescott. I don't know if you saw those, Alex, or not, but he's being accused of some stuff.
No, I
So
did not
depending,
actually.
yeah, so he's being accused of an assault from 2017, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't looked a whole lot into it, so I don't know a whole lot about it. But I know there's a police investigation going on with it. So the Cowboys have that going on too. So it's just been a crazy week in football. The Lions made a couple small moves. We're both Lions fans, so we'll cover them more. But they re-signed their long snapper Scott Daly, and then I believe Khalil Dorsey is a return specialist.
Yeah, he's special team kind of
Yeah.
guy.
The Packers are bringing back A.J. Dillon. We'll get to the other Packer moves here. This is literally just today. A couple other things here today. Kansas City, because they weren't good enough, signed Marquise Hollywood Brown to a 1-year contract because, well, actually, they did not have any good wide receivers last year. That was the one thing that all season long it just felt like nobody would step up. So maybe the one guy to step up for them. Like we said, Aaron Donald retired from the Rams. Another Rams move is they brought in Jimmy Garoppolo to be the backup quarterback to Matthew Stafford. So that's an interesting one right there for Garoppolo because you figured he could probably get in as a bridge gap somewhere, just like he was in Oakland. But maybe there just wasn't the market for him. Have you seen anything, or do you have any comments on any of these moves?
Nope, not yet.
All right.
We'll get to the Rams and who they sign later.
Well, we just got to the Garoppolo and then Donald. But yeah, we got more coming.
Yeah, more coming. That's what I should say.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett, we mentioned, got traded to Philadelphia for draft picks. Actually, if I remember seeing this right, it was absolute crazy. Philadelphia got Kenny Pickett. They swapped third-round picks, and Philadelphia got 1, possibly 2 seventh-round picks from the Steelers, while all the Steelers got was a third-rounder.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is an absolute insane trade. And that trade was made possible because, as we'll see here in a few minutes, Russell Wilson signed with the Steelers earlier this week. Let's Chase Lucas. He was a special teamer for the Lions. He signed with San Francisco. That's it's not a huge loss. He was a 7th-round draft pick, but I mean he was a key contributor on the special teams for the Lions. So yeah, that's pretty much today. Like I said, that's just today. So Friday, March 15th. Yesterday, Desmond Ridder, the quarterback for the Falcons, got traded to Arizona for wide receiver Rondell Moore. Kind of a weird trade there for Arizona. But again, I guess with Kyler, you never know with injury and stuff like that. So you want a decent backup quarterback. And Atlanta, after signing Kirk Cousins, which again, we'll get to that in a second, you just don't really have a use for a young quarterback. And he was very inconsistent. And this is now a new coaching staff in Atlanta, and they probably had nothing to do with him. So that'd be my guess anyways with that trade. We got Ray McLeod going to Atlanta. Curtis Samuel going to Buffalo. Keenan Allen, this one was interesting. Keenan Allen getting traded to the Bears for a 4th-round pick. That one, crazy trade there. My first thought was poor Keenan Allen because that's where wide receivers go to die in Chicago.
Yeah.
So
3 things about that. One, he basically came out and said that basically going to Chicago is the end of my career for being a wide receiver.
He actually said that.
Unless it was one of those fake ones, but he might have made a joke about it. I'll see if I can find it.
I'm guessing it's one of those fake ones, but I hope it's not.
Yeah. 2, I believe this is also to clear up cap room so the Chargers could re-sign or restructure Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa.
Oh yeah, the Chargers were in cap purgatory.
Yeah. So. And number 3, he's kind of injury prone, so I can see why they got rid of him.
Yeah. But like Chicago, like that's where offensive players such as quarterbacks and wide receiver go to die.
Yeah.
So on paper, this should scare me a little bit more than it does.
Right.
But because it's Chicago, I'm not overly worried about this one. But again, it's going to come back to bite me now because that's what happens. Devin Bush, the linebacker from Tampa Bay, signed with Cleveland. That's a good pickup there for the Browns. Their defense is really solid. Dan Skipper reported as eligible, and he's also reporting coming back to the Lions.
Yes.
And then the Lions also picked up DJ Reader, who is a stopping defensive tackle. That's a big get for the Lions right there. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
to shed more blocks for Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston to get to the quarterback. Joe Mixon signed with the Texans. I believe he actually got traded to the Texans and then
Yeah,
signed
on the
a
way.
extension.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got traded there.
Eric Armstead got released by the 49ers, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars came up and picked him up. That was a cap casualty there for the Niners. Let's see here. Nathan Peterman, the quarterback, going to the New Orleans Saints as to back up. Actually, going to be competing for the starting job because Jameis Winston's not there anymore. But he'll probably back up David Carr. A name that doesn't really mean anybody to anybody else, but there was a show on Showtime probably 7-8 years ago where they followed Notre Dame. It was kind of like Hard Knocks, but they followed the Notre Dame football team. Jerry Tillery was a freshman on that team, and so I've always followed his career. He signed with Minnesota. He's a defensive lineman. I've always liked him just because of that show, but so I didn't see his name here with the signing with the Vikings. That's the only reason I'm bringing that one up. Devin White going to Philadelphia. Sam Howell got traded to the Seahawks from the Commanders. That was a close one. I almost said the other word that time.
You could have been all right.
The
former Lion Deshaun Elliott, who was in Miami, signed with Pittsburgh. I see.
Oh, yep. But the Sam Howell trade is interesting to me. Giving up 2 draft picks for your backup quarterback, basically. I know they lost. What's his face? Oh my word! Who'd they get from Denver? Seattle.
Paxton Lynch.
Drew Lock.
Or Drew Lock. Lynch.
That's who it was. Drew Lock. Yeah, which he signed. I don't remember. We'll find out here in a few minutes. We signed with. So this is basically replacing Drew Lock.
Yeah,
but I guess I don't like the value of giving up 2 draft picks for replacing Drew Lock as your backup quarterback to Geno Smith. But that's just me.
The only reason why I think we're seeing all these trades for these quarterbacks and backup is because last year, I believe, set an NFL record for starting quarterbacks. 65 starting quarterbacks played last year.
And I think the record it broke was the year before. So it's been the last 2 years. So
everyone, I think they're trying to get more value out of their backup, or backups are becoming more valuable. Or before they wouldn't be worth these draft picks that are being traded.
That is a very good point. So those are the main moves on Thursday. Moving on to Wednesday now. DJ Humphries got cut by Arizona. So that's a rather big name there being lost. Arizona looked like they were really busy on.
I'd say it looks like they kind of cleaned house on that day.
Yeah, looks like it.
The local Central Michigan guy, Sean Murphy Bunting, signed with Arizona.
And let's see here. Holy cow, Arizona, you guys were busy.
Yeah.
There we go. Atlanta finally. And it's all
a lot of
these guys
declared free agencies.
Kirk Cousins officially signed with Atlanta. Jeff Okudah, he left Atlanta, and I saw that he signed with Houston.
Yes.
The former Lion cornerback. I didn't see that one on the list, but maybe I just went past it. But yeah, I think this is basically just players that declared free agency is what it looks like here.
It looks like Darnell Mooney signed with Atlanta. Give another he was in Chicago, wasn't he? Or Carolina.
I think so.
Okay. I can't remember which one he was in.
Derrick Henry signing with Baltimore. That's a really huge get for the Ravens there. Having a running back at that caliber with Lamar Jackson, that's a really scary running game right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably one of my favorite signings of the offseason so far.
They also lost one of their stud linebackers in Patrick Queen, who was a big part of their defense.
Yep. They lost a few pieces, actually. Gus Edwards, Odell Beckham Jr., I believe I saw that they lost. Oh, who was it?
J.K. Dobbins as
Their
well.
back,
So their
their
whole
backup
backfield.
quarterback. Yeah, and their backup quarterback too. I can't think of his name right now.
Oh,
Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley. There he is.
yep. There you go.
Yeah, he hasn't re-signed yet, but I haven't seen his name being signed anywhere. Buffalo brought in our good friend Mitch Trubisky to be the backup for Josh Allen. Gabe Davis, I believe, signed with Jacksonville,
Yep.
so he's no longer with them. Let's see. Now we're at Carolina. They signed former Detroit Lion and LA Ram, Ashawn Robinson. He's a defensive tackle. Good run-stopping play right there. Man, there's a lot of
free agencies.
there's a lot of free agency that just hasn't signed anybody yet. Carolina traded for Deontay Johnson. He's a cornerback. The Bears, traded for Ryan Bates for a draft pick.
Wait,
they signed.
Go back. Did you say Dante Johnson was a corner? He's a wide receiver.
I thought I saw corner.
I think it did say that, but no, he was a wide receiver. He's from Pittsburgh.
Deontay Johnson for Dante Jackson. That's where I saw it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say,
yeah,
Dante Johnson was a wide receiver for the the Steelers.
Yeah, so that's what it is right there.
Okay.
DeAndre Swift signing a 3-year contract with the Bears, which makes little to no sense to me for really both sides.
Yeah.
Because DeAndre Swift, he's not getting any younger. He's injury prone. The Bears have picked up a couple nice pieces, but again, historically speaking, the Bears' offense has not been very good. While at the same time, why are the Bears spending that much on a position that's not that valuable anymore? It's kind of confusing to me, but I don't make the big bucks. They do. Let's keep going here.
A lot of free agents.
A lot of
declared.
So we're on Wednesday right now. If you guys are listening to the podcast, we're just scrolling through this website here. And it's Wednesday, which is when everybody becomes officially a free agent. Jerry Jeudy got traded to the Browns. That's a good pickup there for Cleveland. And Denver cleaning house, obviously, trying to get rid of the bad contracts and the players that just don't fit their style right now. And these guys, like, for example, Joe Flacco, I believe he just signed somewhere.
He's signed with Indianapolis.
Yeah. So, but a lot of these guys, too, say declared free agent and that they're still free agents, so they could come back to these teams. So if you're watching on the video and you see declared free agent, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not coming back to that team. That just means that they're free agents right now. Dallas, though, Tyron Smith, that's a big free agent. I wonder if they'll bring him back. I haven't seen anything about him, but that'd be a huge loss for Dallas.
I believe Tony Pollard signed with Tennessee.
I believe I saw that too.
Yep.
The running back from Dallas.
Yep, running back.
And I bet you he signed with him on Wednesday because we're only in the D's right now. And this is basically everybody. Russell Wilson obviously cut and signed by Pittsburgh. The Lions, their big loss would be Jonah Jackson and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Those are probably the two biggest losses for this team. Jonah Jackson
with the Rams.
The Rams?
I believe it was the Rams.
It's either the Rams or the Chargers. One of the
LA teams. I think it was a 3-year deal. I can't remember how many mil. And then C.J. Johnson is going back to Philadelphia.
Yep. I don't remember which Aquara brother, but one of the Aquara brothers signed with the Eagles also, I believe. And then, like we said, Teddy Bridgewater retired. The Lions did sign Marcus Davenport, defensive edge. He's one of those guys that it's going to be a prove-it contract, and Brad Holmes has hit on so many of those that I'm not worried about that at all. He also traded for Carlton Davis, a cornerback from Tampa Bay. And also the biggest move that the Lions made so far this offseason was they extended Dan Campbell, excuse me. And wow, Brad Holmes. I am struggling right now, dude. I'm sorry. It's been
It's
a
all
day
good.
over here.
Yeah.
But
Also, I believe did see they also, and I believe it was part of the regime and how they kinda turn the lines around. I can't remember his title, but Chris Spielman, I believe they also extended him for whatever his title is.
I think he's special assistant to the president. I think is
Okay.
his official title.
I
Yeah,
th
I
I
saw
think I
that too.
saw, yeah, he got extended, which is good because I actually enjoy him.
If you ever want to know what kind of coach Chris Spielman would be, just look at Dan Campbell. They're
Yes,
basically the
exactly.
same person.
Yes.
But I really like what the Lions have done this offseason. Everyone's like, oh, we need the big free agent. Guys, Brad Holmes is never going to build this thing through free agency. That's not
Mhm.
his MO. He's going to fill in pieces through free agency and trades, like Carlton Davis, for example, or Marcus Davenport. But he's going to build this thing through the draft. And that's why I think what the Lions have might actually be sustainable because they have a guy that can pick up Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round. Like, we're not relying on our first-round picks
Yeah.
every year to hit.
No.
Now, obviously, you need your first-round picks to hit to have a better chance, and I completely agree with that. But you also need to learn how to draft in the 2nd round, the 3rd round, the 4th round. You need some 6th-rounders to pan out. I'm not saying
Mhm.
you need to draft Tom Brady or anything like that. I mean, that does help.
Yeah.
But you need some of these 6th and 7th rounders to make the team, make contributions on special teams, or even, heck, become a star or at least a
Mhm.
starter.
One
And
thing, yeah.
Brad Holmes can do that. He's proven
Yeah.
that. Every draft, his players stick.
Mhm. And
So
what was the whole during the season, the Lions, what did all the fans say? Defense, well, first was fire and Glenn, but we need to get better on defense. And what does Brad Holmes do the first couple days in
he,
free agency? Goes getting a couple defense. Now he probably already has his guy that he wants in the draft.
but we're not picking till 28th, I believe.
Yeah, so he's gonna take the best available for their team.
Or
But
we'll talk more about the draft when we get closer to it. But I love where the Lions are picking because pick 28, 28 to 32. I love those spots because you know what's going to happen is a quarterback like JJ. I'm not saying JJ himself, but one of those quarterbacks that everyone's projecting to go 15. Every year somebody falls.
mhm,
And what's going to happen is one of those quarterback hungry teams that didn't get one is going to come back to the first round and get one. And they always do it between picks 28 and 32 usually.
mhm,
And the reason why you go back in the first round, again, we'll go more into this closer to the draft, but you with the first round pick, you get the extra year of team control. And that is huge, especially at the quarterback position.
yes.
So think about like Teddy Bridgewater, for example. He was in that situation. So was Lamar Jackson. So I absolutely love where the Lions are for the draft. And I think Brad Holmes, if he plays his cards right, can turn that first round pick into a couple 2nd and 3rd round picks, which is where he's best at drafting is the mid round picks.
Mhm,
But keeping on moving here, um, the Packers signed Josh Jacobs, and released Aaron Donald in the process. On paper, I get it because or what's his
Aaron
face? Oh my
Jones.
word, Aaron Jones. I said
Aaron
Aaron
Jones.
Donald too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all good.
Aaron Jones. He's injury prone, so I get cutting him and also Brian Bulaga too. However, I don't really like the contract for Josh Jacobs. If I'm a Packers fan, I think that's a little too rich. Now, if they win, it doesn't matter how much you spend on the guy, I guess. But yeah, again, running back's one of those positions I think you can get for cheaper, and you don't need a big name running back. So I'm not entirely sure. I guess though, coming from a Lions fan, who the Lions signed a big free agent last year and took a running back in the first round, and it
Right.
worked out well for us. But even when they signed Montgomery last year, I was like, "Oh, Brad Holmes knows what he's doing," but that's a little. I don't know how I feel about that. But anyways, keeping on moving here. They cut Devondre Campbell. That's a big loss for their defense. The Lions' best player for the Packers, Darnell Savage. He's a free agent now. The reason I say that is because when the Lions beat the Packers, Savage normally does something stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping
They
on going
signed
here.
Xavier McKinney. Or McKinney.
What position is he?
He was a safety. I believe he played for
Oh,
the
yeah, he was
Giants.
the Giants. Yeah, the young safety. That's a really good signing right
Yeah.
there for the
That
Packers. I
was
like that one.
me too.
4-year contract. I think he's like 23, 24 years old. So you get him basically through the prime of his career. That's a really good pickup. And it makes the Lions traded for the Packers draft pick last year in the second round, and they took Brian Branch. That makes that trade a little bit easier to swallow if you're a Packers fan, getting somebody like Xavier McKinney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Lions still have great Branch, but at least you now have a young stud safety to yourself. So it works out well for both sides there. Let's see. Houston, like we said, traded for Joe Mixon, and then went ahead and extended him. And there's the Jeff Okudah.
Yep.
Jeff Okudah signing with Houston. Lots of free agents again, so sorry for all the stalls here. Danielle Hunter, defensive end for the Vikings, is now with the Texans. I actually saw a video on TikTok earlier. They were doing introductory press conference with him, and he wore number 99 his entire time with the Vikings. And somebody goes, you going to try to wear 99 here? He goes, no.
Right. I think
Because
I
obviously
saw
that's
that.
J.J. Watt's number. So obviously he's not going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole. Keeping on going here.
Again, a lot of free agents.
Yeah, a lot of
declared.
Joe Flacco. There's the Joe Flacco to Indy. So Gardner Minshew's time in Indy is done, and I believe he signed somewhere else, but we'll get there.
He's with the Raiders.
Yep, that's what it was too. Darnell Savage going to Jacksonville. That's a nice pickup for Jacksonville there. Devin Duvernay going to Jacksonville. Another nice signing there. I like what Jacksonville's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
I like their coach, Doug Peterson. Obviously, they got the good young quarterback and Trevor Lawrence. This is a team that I think in the division is very winnable too. So, but we'll talk more about the divisions and stuff like that as we get closer to the season. We're just basically saying the signings right now. There's Gabe Davis going to Jacksonville. That's a really nice target there for Trevor Lawrence and company.
Yes.
Calvin Ridley, he signed an absolutely stupid contract with Tennessee, which the whole internet exploded. Like, you guys won't pay A.J. Brown, but you're going to pay Calvin Ridley.
Right. I don't know what Tennessee's doing.
Yeah. That whole, and then firing Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
That's organization is just confusing me right now. Kansas City, now they re-signed. Oh, what's his face? The defensive tackle,
Chris Jones.
Yeah, that one's not on our list here, but they did re-sign Chris Jones. We're at the Chargers now. Again, lots of declared free agency. So yeah, it's looking like the Rams are the one. Yep, Rams are the one that signed Jonah Jackson.
Okay.
Well, that's a nice pickup for the Rams. Jonah Jackson's a really good defensive lineman. Big loss for the Lions, but they did bring back Graham Glasnow, so that'll help with that blow a lot. But at the same time, you're losing Big V because the guy never stayed healthy.
Right.
Gardner Minshew, like you said, signing with Vegas. Christian Wilkins signing with Vegas. Vegas also having a quiet, nice offseason here. And also, I like how they didn't overpay for Josh Jacobs and let Green Bay do that. That was nice of them. Shaq Barrett going to Miami.
A lot of free agents declared.
A lot of declaring free agents. Like I said, we're on Monday or Wednesday, and this is when the league year officially started. So all those reports on Monday of so-and-so signing where, that didn't become official till Wednesday.
Right. Also, if it's a little quiet, it's because me and Brendan are actually reading this in live time. If you're watching the video, you can see us both looking at the screen. So we're just kind of looking at the big names as we're scrolling here.
Jordan Poyer going to Miami. That's a nice get for the Dolphins there. I believe he's already there, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The Vikings had a really interesting picking up
Yes.
Sam Darnold, and then I don't think we talked about it, but they traded Houston's first round picks. So now they have 2 first round picks. So the speculation is they're going to try to move up to get one of these quarterbacks. And so we'll see closer as we get to draft time if the Vikings stay where they're at right now and wait till draft night to move things around, or if they're trying to do what Philadelphia and the Rams did that one year with Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. And that's moving around before the draft starts. But if you need a quarterback, this might be the draft to do it because there is a few studs up top and then a couple other guys that are probably going to get taken in the first round. I'm not a fan of all these quarterbacks. Again, as we get closer to the draft and done with our baseball previews, we'll talk a little bit more about the draft and stuff like that. But yeah, interesting moves for the Vikings. Signing Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Bullard. The Patriots, they traded away Mac Jones to Jacksonville to be the backup for Trevor Lawrence. That one, like you said, with all the quarterback injuries, that's why teams are doing that. And for the Patriots, it just made sense. Mac Jones was not the answer. So, and they even said when Gerard Mayo took over, he's like, yeah, we'll have to figure out the quarterback position. He didn't say those exact words, but he pretty much said that without saying that. They did bring back Jacoby Brissett. He was with the Patriots at the beginning of his career. So he's coming back. Austin Hooper, they signed the wide receiver. New Orleans here now. They signed Willie Gay Jr. A lot of declared free agents. The Giants are bringing back John Runyon. I believe he's an offensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think he was with the
I think he was
Green
the
Bay
Packers at one point. Yeah.
Yeah.
They signed Drew Lock. That's where the
Okay.
quarterback for the Seahawks went. Drew Lock is now with the Giants to back up Daniel Jones, or maybe even compete with Daniel Jones for the starting job. We'll see what happens there. Devin Singletary going to the Giants. Brian Burns signing a 5-year contract after being traded to the Giants from the Panthers. That's a really nice pickup for the Giants there. I like Brian Burns. He's a solid football player. Now with the Jets, who their biggest news is Aaron Rodgers going to be running for vice president or not, which is absolutely hilarious. I told my wife that, and she goes, "You mean the football player?" I'm like, "Yeah, the football player." She goes, "Why?" I go, "I really don't know."
That's just, yeah.
But if you're not sure what we're talking about, we're not going to get too political on here at all. We're just, this impacts football, though. There's reports out there that RFK, the independent candidate running for president at the Kennedy, he's debating whether if he wants to bring on Aaron Rodgers as his VP candidate. And if that happens, then Aaron Rodgers is probably done with football.
Yes.
For this year anyways, because, again, not going to get too political, but independents not winning the presidency, as sad as that is. But, yeah, so the Jets are not happy with Aaron Rodgers, and I don't really blame them. I think this is hilarious, though. I had a great chuckle when I first heard that one.
Yep.
Let's see.
Bryce Hall is free agent. I think he signed with someone. I don't know. I think we passed it already, but he was big in for the Jets. Then you got Tyrod Taylor there signing 2 years.
Just in case if Aaron Rodgers goes to run for president.
Yep.
And like I told my wife, I go, there's a world that we live in right now where Aaron Rodgers could become president of the United States of America. That is hilarious. Thomas Morstead, I believe he's a punter, re-signing with the Jets.
Hey, punters are people too. So
hey, I love my punters.
Mm-hmm. For the brand.
That's right. Now we're at Philadelphia. They signed Saquon Barkley from the Giants. That's kind of a fun move there, just saying, hey, we're going to take your best player and he's going to come to join us now. Obviously, as we talked about, they brought back C.J. Gardner-Johnson after spending a few games with the Lions. He was hurt for most of the year, though, but they signed him to a 3-year contract. Their biggest news, though, was, oh my word, what's his name? Jason Kelce retiring.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest news there for the Steelers. Not the Steelers, the Eagles. Now we're at the Steelers. That's why I said that. I'm sorry, guys. So there's been some stuff in my personal life, and today's been an emotional day with that. So I'm kind of here, but I'm kind of not. But Pittsburgh, we got Patrick Queen signing. Their quarterback room looks completely different now, bringing in Russell Wilson. And then there's Dante Jackson. Okay, so yeah, traded. Yep, there's the trade with Deontay Johnson, the wide receiver.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right on that one. Like I said, Russell Wilson is now with the Steelers. And then we got the Seahawks here, George Fant, Pharaoh Brown, couple signings there. I'm kind of confused with the Seahawks this offseason, I'm not going to lie. Noah Fant, that's the person I was thinking of, the tight end, not the first one, George Fant.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, Noah Fant.
Same last name. It's all good.
Same last name, so I even have an excuse on that one.
Yep. No, you're good, man.
But I'm confused by Seattle's offseason here. Letting all these guys go and letting Pete Carroll go. It's just been a weird offseason for the Seahawks, too. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they're thinking more long-term, but yeah.
I don't know what direction they're going in.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, very weird.
San Francisco, like we said, they released Eric Armstead. They did bring back Ray McLeod, though.
Chase Young is still a free agent, I believe, the defensive end.
Sam Darnold, like we said, their backup quarterback. He is now with the Vikings. They did re-sign, or they were talking to Brandon Allen, who was their third string quarterback, excuse me. So they're trying to keep things in here. Tampa Bay, their big move was they extended both Baker Mayfield and who's the receiver?
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans. I was thinking Edwards. I knew that wasn't it.
It's close.
It was close. Tennessee, like we said, their big move would probably be bringing in. I'll find it here in a second.
Tony Pollard.
Not the wide receiver. Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley. Yeah.
But again, letting Derrick Henry walk, which I'm okay with that. Derrick Henry, the team and the player are just going different directions there. Derrick Henry probably wants to play for a team that's going to compete. That's why he goes to Baltimore. Tennessee is not going to compete this year. And then they go out and sign Calvin Ridley to that 4-year contract. It's just a weird offseason for them, too. I don't really like their offseason. They brought in Mason Rudolph, the Christmas legend from the Steelers. He is now with the Titans. I did not see that till just now. This is why we're doing it this way, because there's no way we could see all these signings. There's just a lot.
So much.
We're at Washington now. They brought in Austin Eckler. That's a good signing there for them. Washington's that one team that if they have a good offseason, I really could see them making some noise in the NFC East and possibly making a wild card because they don't actually have a bad team. They just didn't have a head coach last year. I think Rivera basically checked out.
Yeah,
and
the only question mark will be their rookie QB on who's available when they draft.
Yeah.
But I just see this. They did sign Marcus Mariota, presumably as a bridge quarterback,
or the mentor, anyways. The worst case scenario there.
That's what I was looking for.
Let's see. They signed kicker Brandon McManus from the Broncos. So there's a nice signing there. I like him. He's a good kicker.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's all we got there.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry for the craziness of that, guys. That one was a little weird. Did you see? We
Your
got a
audio
comment.
is
I was on the
in.
other page, and that's shocking.
I know.
Yeah, my audio is always. We got a comment saying, "What do we want to take our Lions to do for the draft?" We'll talk about that closer to the draft time. I haven't really looked at the draft players yet this year, so I have no idea who's going to be available when the Lions are picking. One position I do want them to upgrade this offseason, either through the draft or free agency, oddly enough, is kicker. Because when we talked about this when the game happened, but if Dan Campbell had a kicker he could rely on against the 49ers, I think he kicks the ball more than he did.
Yeah.
Or going, actually at all, because he went for it on fourth down basically every time. So, yeah, we'll talk more about the Lions and what we want the Lions to do in the draft. Like I said, I haven't done a whole lot of research on this draft class yet, so, but just off the top of my head, or even the Lions roster, because as we just saw, there's been a lot of movement going around, so I have no idea who the Lions are going to have back and what positions are going to need to be filled. So it's a mess right now in the NFL. Like I was talking to Alex before we went on the air, I don't remember an offseason this crazy.
No.
Like, it's been crazy. Like, trades and quarterback movement. This quarterback movement, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, this is probably the most quarterback movement that we've seen in our lifetime. And just even like all the trades and signings, I mean, normally, every team has signings, but I feel like this year it's a lot more trades and a lot more signings of bigger names.
Yeah. Like with the quarterback, for example, like your quarterback never hits the open market. Like you never see a quarterback hit the open market. And now we got Kirk Cousins signing for a lot of money with Atlanta. And then with that, Sam Darnold going to Minnesota. And, it's just been musical chairs at quarterback, which is
Desmond Ridder getting traded to
Desmond
Arizona.
Ridder, Sam Howell getting traded, which all these players probably their time was done, except for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is the big one. But, which, by the way, I saw this clip that Kirk Cousins said he hopes to retire a Falcon. Well, apparently he said that when he was introduced to the Vikings, and he said that at one point in his time with Washington. So he just wants to retire with every team he plays for. So then the question is the lack of loyalty on his end or the team's end? Which
when the guy only has one win in the playoffs, I mean,
yeah. Well, how many like Stafford though with the Lions, he had 0 wins, and yeah,
but he ended up getting a Super Bowl out of that. So
yep. So I think that is all we have for you guys today. We just wanted to do the NFL recap. Monday we'll be back, and we're gonna do the college bracket. So I'll make a group on ESPN Tournament Challenge, and I'll put a link on it on our Facebook page. Please join that. If we get enough people on it, we might do a little giveaway with that. If it's not many people, obviously we're not going to do a giveaway because there's less chance of you losing if there's only 7 of us, for example. But if we get enough people, we'll do a little giveaway maybe. And then Wednesday, we're going to talk about the NL West because they start regular season games on Wednesday. So we'll talk about that division. And then either Tuesday or Friday, we haven't decided which day yet, but we're going to do second to last episode of the movie ranking because we wanted to have an honorable mention episode because we both had some movies that we left off our list because we just didn't have enough room for them. Or in one of my movies' cases, it's just so bad that I want to mention it. Which, by the way, that was the movie that they said, hey, throw me this pitch, and then they threw that pitch, and it was a completely different pitch, and I'm like, that's not even the right pitch. And Kelsey's like, that was trouble with the curve. I'm like, oh, yeah, that was what that was.
Wow.
But, yeah. But thank you guys so much for checking us out. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Sorry it was a little scatterbrained today. wasn't our best show, but like I said, other stuff going on today, so I hope you guys understand. Monday, like I said, we'll do the basketball tournament preview. So I hope you guys can join us. And we will talk a little bit about the Michigan news today. Little teaser there, but Michigan fired Juwan Howard from their head coaching position at Michigan. So we'll react to that on Monday too, since we'll be talking college basketball. Be sure to like and subscribe and like us on Facebook. Have a great day.